There are 99 measures that divide the ordered data set in 100 equal parts. So they are called percentiles. Percentile 1 have only 1% of the data below P1, and the other 99% is above. Or percentile 99 have 99% below and 1% above. You have percentile K, K% of the data are below PK, and 100 minus K of the data are above PK. I say at most. For example, the 24 percentile, P24, is a value that satisfies the following. 24% of the data are below, 76 above. Excel have two different approaches for compute the percentile. One is something that is called PERCENTILE.INC. You can type equal PERCENTILE.INC and open bracket and select the data you are going to compute the percentile. If you are computing by hand, this is the idea. First, rank the data from the lowest one to the highest one. I think in the spaces between the numbers. Each of these small lines here are the numbers. If these are n numbers, so it will be n minus 1 spaces. Call this the first number, the smallest one, and use an index. For example, this will be x sub 0. 0 because it doesn't have any space before, but this is 1 because it's when you finish the first space, when you finish the second space, x2, until the last one, you have n data, but the last one will be x sub n minus 1. So when you run the data and call the first one x0, the last one xn minus 1, you can use this formula to compute the position of the percentile. So you are doing something similar when you are computing the median. So determine the position of the percentile. So meaning that it will be, you are going to be using, instead of 1 over 2, you are going to get k over 100. And because you go with n minus 1 spaces, you are going to multiply by n minus 1 and divide by 100. So what you are doing is dividing these n minus 1 spaces in 100 part and choose k. The answer will be the sum of two numbers. One will be a whole number and the other is a fraction. For example, it could be 3.25. I'm going to call the decimal f. It will be a number between 0 and 1, but less than 1 could be 0 but no 1. I will be a whole number. And this n is the total number of data and k is the number of the percentile. So this is when you get the number, then what will be the percentile? The percentile.INC will be x sub I. So if this I was 20, so will be the data in the position 20. Plus the fraction, the decimal, multiply the difference between the data in the next position minus the data in the position I. I think it's better with an example. Assuming that you have this data, okay? 7, 9, 28, 79, 13, 5, 10, 50, 70, 42, 20. And I want to compute the percentile 64. First step, run the data, order the data from the lowest one to the highest one. 5, 7, 9, 10, 13, 24, 79. I know that the first one will be x0, S1, S2. So this is one x0, S1, S2, S3, etc. until the last one will be x10. They are 11 data because I start with 0. The maximum index will be 10. And then I use the formula for determine the position. I plus f equal k over 100 n minus 1 multiplied by n minus 1. Is the percentile 64? So k is 64. N is 11 because there are 11 data. So it will be 11 minus 1, 10. So it will be 64 over 100. 64 over 100 is 0.64. 0.64 multiplied by 10. This is 6.4. As I tell you, there is a whole number and a fraction. So I know that I equals 6 and the fraction will be 0.4. So then use the formula. The percentile 64 will be the data in the position I, so the data in the position 6, plus the fraction multiplied by the difference between the two numbers. So it will be data in the position 6 plus 0.4, that is the fraction, data in the position 7 minus data in the position 6. Data in the position 6 is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is this 28? The data in the next position is 42. 42 minus 28 here. This is the 0.4, that is the fraction here. Then use your calculator, and this is the percentile 64. There is another percentile, that is percentile.X. So the same, you run the data, but instead of thinking that the space between the data, you are going to think that these numbers are actually separated in two spaces. So it will be in a space here at the beginning. So the first data is at the end of the first space. So it will be this, it will be 1, and the last data will be x to n. I enumerating the data regarding how many spaces have before the data. Here is 1, here 2, etc. And then to get the position will be the same. And because there are n plus 1 spaces, so actually 1, so I dividing the whole spaces in 100 part. So now here is n plus 1 spaces. Here it will be the same, yeah? For example, if we have this data, yeah, the same number of data, but I'm going to compute the percentile.X, the 64. You're going to do the same that we do before, but you start from 1. Obviously, the last number is 11 because we have 11. And you are going to compute the percentile in this way. The formula is a little different. It's not n minus 1, is n plus 1 multiplied by 12 because you have actually x plus 1. It was 11 plus 1 is 12. So the answer is 7.68. So 7 is I, 0.68 is the fraction. And then to compute the percentile, K will be data number 7 plus 0.68, data number 8 minus data number 7. Okay? And just data number 7. Now you start from 1, not from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is 28, and the other is 42. So it's the same numbers, yeah? But the answer is different. It's a little different. So percentile.X give you a different number to percentile.INC. There is a problem in percentile.X, and it's that sometimes you give you an error. When it give you this error? Because this is the formula, K 100 n plus 1, if the answer is less than 1, you are thinking number that is before the first data. Okay? So obviously you can solve for K here. You notice that 100 multiply n plus 1 divide. So if K is lower than 100 over n plus 1, then it's going to give you an error. For example, if n is 11, and so K will be, if K is lower than 100 over 12, because n is 11, then Excel is going to give you an error. Excel cannot compute this. So if K is 8 or 7 or 2, you try to go to solve this problem, and there are 11 data, for sure that you cannot get the percentile.X. Or the same at the other side, if this is bigger than the biggest data than n, so if this is greater than n, so you can solve for K, for example, 100 multiplied by n will be 100n divided by n plus 1. So K, if K is greater than 100n, 100 multiplied by n, divided by n plus 1, then the answer will be an error. So that you cannot compute the percentile.X. So that means that K, if n equal 11, then will be here 100 times 11 is 1100. Yeah? And n plus 1 is 12, so it will be 1100 over 12, 91.66. For example, if I give you 11 data and I ask you, compute percentile 92, bigger than this, oh, the answer will be an error. You cannot do it. Okay?